Hey guys, so you ready for today's October 31st, 2020? Happy Halloween, 9:17 p.m. Central Time. Let me preface this video with this. I do not know if this lawsuit has gone any further than being filed. If it's been filed and it's been taken up, I'd be shocked, okay? So if it has, let me know or stop listening to the video, whatever you want to do. But this was too priceless not to do a video on. Because the Attorney General of California is severely not just ignorant on federal law, okay, possibly state law, but how embarrassing for the Attorney General of California among all of the people that jumped on this lawsuit suing the ATF over ghost guns, okay? I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'm sure there's people who've done videos on this. I have no idea if they're any good, whatever. I'm sure there's articles about it, whatever, but I'm going to show you my perspective. Ricky, who is someone that's on my YouTube channel, posted on my last video, hey, if I could ask you a question. It appears as if California's DOJ has sued the ATF to try and get them to change their definition of 80% lowers, essentially trying to ban them on a federal level. Gave me the link. Has something like this been done before, and do you think it can actually work? Question mark. Well, first of all, I'll say this. Congress, okay, has created ghost gun bills, untraceable firearms, homemade firearms, DIY firearms, all kinds of different wonderful, cute titles over the years that I've seen, none of which have been taken up, touched, gone through committee, or anything, have all died. So in that sense, Congress hasn't been able to address this. The ATF can address this doing a rule change all on their own, okay, and do what they did with the ability in order to ban bump stocks and change the definition of a current law that's out there. It's interpretation, okay, that's how they put it. Rule changes through government agencies change the interpretation of a current statute that's out there. It's adorable. It is so unconstitutional, and it needs to be taken up by the Supreme Court in order to regulate all of these agencies from doing this. But that's essentially what this court case is attempting to do. It's not even addressing Congress or the Trump administration, period, okay? It is attempting to get the ATF to do something what I consider to be unconstitutional, all the time they do, through a lawsuit, okay? So Attorney General from California, Xavier, and Giffords Law Center, among many others who jumped on this, lead lawsuit demanding the Trump administration address the threat of unregulated ghost guns. And it says in here that they've been used in mass shootings. Ghost guns are untraceable weapons that have been used in mass shootings throughout the country and right here in California, from Santa Monica in 2013 to Tacoma County 2017 and Saugus High School just last year. We can't afford to wait for another tragedy to happen before we take action. It's time for the ATF to prioritize the safety of our communities by calling these products what they are, firearms, and regulate them accordingly. And it says here, the lawsuit asks the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California to vacate these determinations and direct the ATF to classify, aka rule change, so-called 80% frames and receivers as firearms subject to federal firearm statutes and regulations. If all you read is an article, perhaps, or this page, it sounds like an interesting lawsuit. Sounds like a possibility that a court could take it up. Doesn't sound like logically it would go through because the Department of Justice in any state can't dictate to the ATF, a federal agency, to do anything through its agency that hasn't been done, okay? So I don't foresee that. But yeah, Congress has had all these cute bills, right? I don't know if I said that already. They've had ghost guns, DIY guns, untraceable, untrackable, all these wonderful, cute little titles, right? None of them have gone anywhere. They've all died in committee. If I haven't said that already, I'm saying it now because I already did this video once. So if all you read is this, or an article, or listen to someone's video, and they don't bother looking into the lawsuit, okay, then you have a problem. If you look into the lawsuit, it was filed September 29th, 2020, and it is, and I will give you the article I was given, it is at the end of the page, okay? A copy of the lawsuit can be found here. So if you open it, it's so awful that it's on page 3, guys. Section 2. In the introduction, how bad this is. I won't read section 1 because it's just whatever. But section 2 of the introduction, okay, of the introduction, it says, but today, these protections are threatened by the rapid proliferation of so-called ghost guns. Ghost guns are, in effect, a lethal do-it-yourself DIY project that allows anyone at home to build a fully operable firearm within minutes, using nothing more than commonly owned tools in a pre-packed kit. The resulting DIY weapons are ghosts because, lacking serial numbers, they are not traceable law enforcement when they are used in a crime, and they are not regulated by the federal government in any way. That is a result of definitions by defendants ATF and its leadership to exclude these ghost guns from the ambit of GCA, which is the Gun Control Act. In other words, ghost guns can be purchased without a background check by people who are prohibited from possessing firearms. The firearms do not have serial numbers. The gun dealers are not required to maintain any records of their sales or the identity of their purchasers. Anyone can buy them. No one can trace them. The federal government has done nothing to regulate or limit their spread. End quote. First of all, unless I am completely ignorant on the law, which, by the way, I brought up the ATF just to verify, okay? Looked up the ATF, was going to go into U.S. Code Title 18 and look it up that way, but this was way faster. But just so anybody who's curious or a lawyer wants to look it up, it's Title 18 U.S. Code 922 OPNR. Then it's Title 26 U.S. Code 5822 CFR 27, and it goes into little dots, right? Does an individual need a license to make a firearm for personal use? I will go into how inaccurate that section is. No, a license is not required to make a firearm solely for personal use. However, a license is required to manufacture firearms for sale or distribution. Let's go with that, right? So let's go back to the lawsuit for a second. It says ghost guns can be purchased without a background check, okay? That's inaccurate, okay? Ghost guns, if they want a serial number, be legitimate. I mean, you could create a serial number and you could go to fucking federal prison forever. But if you want a legitimate serial number, you have to go through the ATF and get it registered, right? So, no, it has nothing to do with background checks at all, because you have to have a serial number, which it says here, these firearms do not have serial numbers. Incorrect. If you're going to sell them, okay, depending on what state you're in, you do have to do a background check. Now, if you're in Arizona or in Missouri or a few other states that don't require background checks for private sales, then that would be accurate. That's a whole other situation. They call it Charleston loophole, okay? Or no, they call it a gun show loophole. Excuse me, Charleston's totally different. Then it says gun dealers are not required to maintain any records of their sales or identities of these purchasers. Excuse me? If a gun dealer has a ghost gun and they are selling it, they are going to prison, okay? Because as far as I know, FFLs strictly sell firearms in which they take into their inventory that have serial numbers, and they have to keep those records when they sell the firearm to an individual. They are required to go through the background check system, which is called NICS, National Instant Criminal Background Check. The person who is purchasing the firearm fills out a 4473 goes through NICS, then NICS either approves, denies, or delays that person. That's a whole other situation there. So their gun dealers are not required to maintain any records or sales of identity of purchasers is bullshit. Anyone saying ghost guns can be purchased without a background check is incorrect, because it wouldn't be a ghost gun. It would be a legitimate gun that got registered through the ATF. And people who are prohibited from possessing firearms, okay? Regarding the background check. Well, yeah, you can absolutely do that. I mean, you can totally do this without it being legitimate, and you'll go to fucking federal prison, okay? If you make a firearm outside of personal use and sell it to someone without a serial number, you are going to prison. That is already federal law, period, okay? If you go and you make your own firearm and you get a serial number and you register it with the ATF, you can go around and sell it to anybody. Depending on your state, you may or may not have to go through a background check. That has to do with, again, gun show loophole. And the prohibited possessing firearms, if you are prohibited from owning a firearm, you cannot make a ghost gun either, okay? That's also a federal crime. So everything that was listed there is already a federal fucking crime. And that says the law prohibits a person from assembling a non-sporting semi-automatic rifle or shotgun from 10 or more imported parts, as well as firearms that cannot be detected by metal detectors or x-ray machines. In addition, the making of the NFA firearm requires a tax payment and advanced approval by the ATF. And anyone who doesn't know what the National Firearms Act is and what an NFA item is, that's a whole other situation, has nothing to do with this lawsuit. You literally do not have to go past Section 2 of the introduction to know this lawsuit needs to be tossed, because they don't know what they're talking about whatsoever. It is illegal. Let's put it again, Xavier, just in case you're listening, which you're not, but in case you are. You can create a ghost gun, okay? 80% lower, whatever. You can create something without a serial number at home for personal use. Okay, you want to regulate that? That's a whole other story. But based on your lawsuit, okay, that is not what you're attempting to do. You're attempting to make it a whole other situation with purchasing, selling, FFLs, everything else you've added to your lawsuit, okay? Totally toss it out. Should be tossed out. So yes, ghost guns exist. People make them, if that's what you want to call them, ghost guns, okay? You can make it for personal use. If you want to sell it, you got to get a serial number or make a serial number and get it registered through the ATF. However that works. It gets registered through the ATF. Then it is considered an actual firearm. You, as a person who created it, now has a serial number on it, can sell it, okay? Depending on the state you're in, you can sell it without a background check, okay? If you're doing this all legally, sell it without a background check. If you're in Arizona, Missouri, and other states who allow it on private sales, or you have to go to an FFL, Federal Firearm License, gun shop, okay? Have the person you're selling it to fill out a 4473 and go through the NICS background check system before you can sell them that firearm, okay? There are no FFLs in this country selling ghost guns. If they are going to prison, okay? Any way you look at this, there's federal laws attached to it. You sell a gun that doesn't have a serial number on it, you're going to prison. You sell a gun to someone who's prohibited, but you didn't have to go through the background check system, the person who got the gun is going to prison. If you sell a gun to someone who isn't supposed to have one, or you sell a gun to someone when you should have gone through NICS, you're going to prison, okay? So there's many, many ways you can go to prison already regarding ghost guns in every aspect that Xavier described in his lawsuit in paragraph 2, okay? Again, if he had just said, hey, the ATF needs to regulate ghost guns, meaning individual use, Once you create a gun of any kind, a projectile, something that you can cause a projectile and harm someone, however they want to define it, okay? That they have to get prior authorization like an NFA item, that's different. Totally different lawsuit, very simplistic, could go to the courts, could cause the ATF to do something. But this lawsuit is absurd and should be tossed. This is Are You Ready For It? Take care, guys. Have a great day.